Hi everyone, I'm Anthony O'Flynn. Well, in the last 72 hours here in Australia, there has been a colossal shift in consciousness. It's not just in Australia, it is global, it is worldwide, but where I am based here in Australia, I'm perceiving it the most clearly. And I can say without any doubt that there has been a radical awakening, a radical shift in consciousness on this entire continent. And I am absolutely spectacularly amazed at what is transpiring, what people are now sharing, their views, their beliefs, their opinions on this crisis. And it is ultimately a crisis of conscience and consciousness, which is transpiring moment to moment. But what I can state clearly is there has been a radical awakening, something even akin to the spirit of the Anzacs emerging. And on that note, the Anzacs, they fought and died for our freedoms, for our liberties, for our way of life. And we have seen draconian measures, abuse of authority, of abuse of power that's we're seeing every day here in the media in Australia, and people have simply had enough. Obviously, this word draconian, the first syllable being Draco, and that's something to consider as well. So what is really transpiring now is a complete rejection for the calling for vaccinations, whether they're mandatory or obligatory or enforced or in whatever context, to deal with this coronavirus pandemic. So we're seeing the catalyst for this awakening is due to some of the public figures' comments that they've made in the media, that people are just quite blatantly rejecting 100%, and they are starting to speak their mind in ways and use language that I have not seen on this journey of awakening that I have been on for more than 20 years. It is quite profound to actually see. So to give you an idea, some background information of these statements, the first one is from Scotty from Marketing, or by Scotty from Marketing, and he says, quote, "Ultimately there needs to be a vaccine. A vaccine ultimately enables everybody to go back to life as it was." Now, what he is asserting in that statement remains to be seen, but it's the very first indication. Interpret that the way you will, whatever context you want to give it, that it appears there will be an attempt, possibly, to introduce mandatory vaccination in Australia for the COVID-19 virus. I can see from my perception that this is never going to work. This is going to be a complete disaster in health policy, complete disaster in political policy, and this is going to cause all kinds of political, social, and economic disruption, and it is going to be chaos if this is even remotely considered as being a law that's passed in Australia. It is a complete violation of human rights to have someone inject or insert anything into your body that you do not consent to. Not only that, this will feed into any kind of subtle manipulation where you can't travel, you can't go to a hospital, you can't drive if you've not had this vaccination. And if we acquiesce to this draconian measures, then what's to say will be the next pandemic and the next vaccination and the one after that and the one after that? And what if these vaccinations only last 12 months, so you have to get another one every 12 months? It's simply not going to transpire. I cannot see in any way from what I've seen in the last 72 hours of this actually becoming in any way a public policy. And if it was even attempted, I feel that it would end the political careers of anyone who was actually supporting this, because the people of Australia are completely outraged. Not only that, we see another statement from Bill Gates when he refers again with a similar kind of statement around vaccinations. Quote, "Which activities like mass gatherings may be in a certain sense more optional, and so until you're widely vaccinated, those may not come back at all." End quote. So obviously, who is Bill Gates to decide public health policy, and who is he to determine what kind of medicines people should or should not have in regard to protection from various illnesses? This is not the responsibility or the control of any individual or any organisation. And it will be a very difficult time, but it is amazing to see the rallying of the Australian people that's going on, and also the people around the world. It's time to start speaking your truth. Ignore the people who are in a state of cognitive dissonance, who cannot process the information, who cannot integrate the truth of what is going on, and simply start to speak your truth and get engaged in the political process. Because unfortunately, because of the apathetic nature of our culture here in Australia, with things being so good in so many levels for so long, we've forgotten that democracy is the government representing our values, our interests, our belief systems. The government does not tell us what to do. We are the government, and we simply elect them as representatives of us. And it is our responsibility to hold them accountable. That is what a democracy is. The government is to represent and use their mandate, their responsibility to give representation to what we believe in, our way of life, our values, our belief systems, and so on. And this is what we must start to do in greater numbers. It's already started to occur, but we need to do this continually and have our voice heard. And this is part of the democratic process for us to speak our mind and get our interests and organise ourselves so that we are actually represented by the government. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more to come. We live in epic times.